Let go.
Say on Diddy Combs says.
Yeah,
Thanks for
5,000 is for
sending
the
me that money,
two-step.
fam.
5,000 is for the
Enzo.Grigor
two-step. We'll
says.
two-step at the
This
stream
looks
goal
so real.
2,000.
Arken Hine says.
Cutting the mic off for now
Said
though.
hot.
That's
Thriceborn says. Granny clutches. Combustion Crave says. Oh yo, I thought this was Assetto on WTF. C150 says. This is a game. Tartar Kaudio says. Yo drive. OGJOK says. This real, this ain't Asta Corsa. Says. UNC begging for gifts to drive in a big 25. Corbin Curtis says. Revit. Adam says. Hi. Catmaster 9972 says. Said hi. H says. Y'all slow, it's real. Say on Diddy Combs says. Are you still sending me that drone drop tonight? Xerxes says. YOOO. Landon Lombo says. Please, someone do the 5,000 gold cent gifts if you can please, I wanna see this two-step. Catmaster 9972 says. What's the top speed? Chode Mechanic says. Nasi says. You dep ain't got no Supra, dep some Acura or Mitsubishi. Johnny says. You. Tartar Kaudio says. How much WHP and what's your 0 to 60? Nomad says. No diddy, no diddy, no diddy. Ghosty 556 says. This real FS. Combustion Crave says. Says. Bruh this IRL. Zoob says. OFCUNC is, gas ain't cheap and nor is doing maintenance on a Supra. Xerxes says. When you go live. Lost Soul says. Hit a pull. Someone says. Yo. Smazibo Omel says. Landon Lombo dude, nobody is donating 500 bucks. Wyatoy says. Ratatatata. Landon Lombo says. Please, someone help, thank you so much. STRZ says. Lego 501 registered says.
alright, looks like we already hit our goal. Dang, y'all quick with it.
You go in live.
Zay, why do you have to do that? I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready.
Someone says. Do some driving now.
Alright, we got police up ahead. Hold on.
Says, guys, it's a video game, not real life.
It is a video game. Yeah. A Seto Corsa heavy mod situation.
Says, rip that thing, it wants to eat. Wyatoy says. Ratatatatata. Shannon says. Brew says. Galaxy sent. Xerxes says.
I really need to know the audio for the car coming across, but I can't hear it.
Swirly Healer 4 says. He sent the Galaxy.
I hear it.
Green Alien 3456 says. Just trolling, nice car. Landon Lombo says. Smazibo Omel, someone just sent a Galaxy, so hop off. Someone says. Galaxy. 501 registered says. Do some driving.
Yeah, we going two-step. Zay definitely pushed it.
Baby Base K says. He sent a Galaxy. $$ Wesley $$ says. We can hear the car and you got a Galaxy. Says. Galaxy. Xerxes says. SMB sent Galaxy. Landon Lombo says. Thank you so much for helping. Someone says. Galaxy. Cam says. Rip that cheap bro. Rated Lux says. Just drive fast and we'll give you a Galaxy. Colton says. Hit it FR. Someone says. Galaxy. Smazibo Omel says. Landon Lombo, you need a hop off him. Combustion Crave says. He in Mexico, y'all don't worry. STRZ says. Holy lies bro. Someone says. Galaxy. Sosa 2024 says. No T400 means it's slow. Slow 66 says. Do a pull. Swirly Healer 4 says. He sent a Galaxy. Autumn and Carter best friends says, can you go really fast? New Jersey, says. Give it gas. Tony B Trucks says. Someone pull up in a Porsche or BMW to get this guy moving. Ichigo says. Send it, he sent a Galaxy. STRZ says. Don't cut my hook. 4x4 Trucks says. This is IRL. Magnus Mull says. Bro already sent a Galaxy. STRZ says. Don't cut mine. Lil Duck says.
Zay, I hope you're still in here. I owe you a two-step, because you probably pushed it over the edge. I owe the whole stream a two-step, because y'all did it.
Says. Rev.
Now, I'm gonna probably have to raise the damn thing higher.
Some two-step.
But for now, let me cruise to this spot where I can two-step at. Because there is a sound. I know y'all hear it, like rather ticking sound. I need to figure that out. This thing kind of costly to deal with sometimes. So thanks for the likes, everybody. Thanks for the gifts. Bear with me. I'm gonna pull over. In the meantime, for those who have TikTok and you're probably on Facebook. I'm streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok.
I'm trying to see this two-step.
There is a Discord link.
Slow 66 says.
We will be doing more streams over there. And when, you know, the set of course with heavy mods signal gets dropped, if it does, that's where I'll be. So if we go dark, you know it. You know where I'm at.
Grab that SHYT Nick.
Alright.
Mason.ya.hurt says.
Thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. But yeah, Discord link in the bio. Join that. We're doing things over there. We got tutorials. We're gonna show you how to edit some of these videos I'll be posting.
How much did everything cost?
If you want to know how I'm doing the live stream,
he sent a Galaxy.
No, kind of dark here. We're going.
Someone says. He sent Galaxy.
Have an option to, you know, get that.
Sent a Galaxy.
I do a behind the scenes situation and all that good stuff.
Landon says.
But yeah, here we go. It's
I'm gonna pull you over.
Give the people what they want because they made the goal. I appreciate y'all.
He said a Galaxy. Smazibo Omel says. Landon.
Now Galaxies make me drive stream goal two-step, but we already over the stream goal, so let's go. Hold on.
Kyla Gomming says. Hitler. Tony B Trucks says. Driving across country at 40 miles per hour. Xerxes says. Bro go drive. Formula Junkie says. Rev her. Armine Car says. This is not a video game.
Fast for the two-step. Here we go. Hold up.
Sent Galaxy. Baby Base K says.
Right after this car
he sent Galaxy. Funny Hatman says. Bro better not wreck.
Here we go.
Elise says. Said hot. Kobe Teakle says.
Run a replay on that just to see
better rip
shot some flames. I don't want to.
Oliver Maid says. RTX 7090. Xerxes says. Bro go. Louisiana Base Fishing says. Said hi. Xerxes says.
Oh, we got a little pop out of it. We got a little pop.
Igor Porra says. How many HP does your Supra have, bro? Hyperx says.
We haven't dynoed it since we put a new turbo on it, so it's kind of low.
Says. Revit. Nick says.
From what we last dynoed it, I do not know.
Xerxes says.
What it is now. So we got new turbo, new injectors.
Says.
Retune needs to
come. Galaxy.
And we'll really know what the heck's going down.
Says.
Let me turn this AC on a little bit, see where we at with this.
Hyperx says. Rev. Seon Diddy Combs says. Driving like a jet. CRXKVNDY says. We got the same texture pack. Kobe Teakle says.
We got the same texture pack? Yeah, you're right. That's it, of course. These packs are amazing.
Another brogo. El Compadro says. Nayagan Yagaye.
I'm about to change the goal.
Says.
I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna set the next goal at
another Galaxy I
guess 10,000.
Someone
Let's
says.
see if we get there.
Another Galaxy. Xerxes says.
Another Galaxy? Where'd that go?
I ain't see they sent Galaxy now one? Drive. Justin says. Come on, I'm trying to see a chase.
I really can't keep up.
Shadow Band says.
You're not going to
my
see a chase.
name
We're
is
not about
Neagar.
that. We in a set of Corsa.
Jorge Rosas y su estilo
Is there chase
Campirano
mode in a set of
says.
Corsa? I don't think so.
All motor. Nick says. Text to speech is
But yeah,
behind.
check out the Discord, man. More
Ricky
two-stepping
says.
over there. We'll be doing.
Main where the action
The signal
CUH.
over here.
Cody Westbrook
Sometimes they
428
tap in.
says.
I gotta go dark.
Go.
That's where I'll be.
501 registered says.
First couple people
Send
who
it.
get the early access.
Says.
Get it at a discount.
Money.
That's that subscription in Discord.
Says. Finally. STRZ says. Finally. Zoof says. Whoever said shit about the engine blowing. It's hard to kill a fully built JZ. STRZ says. 10. STRZ says. Bro what? Landon Lombo says. Yo, thank you so much. Reyes says. Someone sent a galaxy before. Combustion Crave says. Got blow off. Kobe Teakle says. Let's go. Cody Westbrook 428 says. Turn off chat. Babyface K says. Go. Levi M says. Chat off. Says. Brody took a minute. Smazibo Omel says. Real. BJ says. Rip it. J3K Garage says. Nice car bruv. Alright,
that last two-step wasn't that great. I think I'm gonna give y'all one before I drive off. And then I'm gonna set the goal to a higher goal for the next two-step if y'all want that.
Reyes says. On God someone
Alright, so
sent
we only
a
gonna set it to
before.
10K.
Kelvin says.
Damn, we already
Pico El
got halfway
there,
there, so
fishing says.
Shouldn't be too hard for y'all, but we're going two-step one more time for y'all.
Says. Negar Fagod. Hyperx says. Bro too scary to rev the damn car. Andre 2014 says.
I'm scared.
Supra. J3K Garage says.
Alright, let's go. Hold
Tony
on.
B Trucks says. I'm running out of scotch with this guy. Show us what the car has or well bring a Plat S. Jorge Rosas y su estilo Campirano says. Pi Sale Reggio. Triax says. He just cruising, give him a break LOL. Health World says. Yo. Health World says. FR. Lucas Eugenio says. 200.
Alright, there y'all go.
Blake says. What year and nice Super and sounds good. The DJ MG says. Buy Tesla. Big Chicken says. Lego Chicken. Wear them GTA 5-star. Parker says. Florida. David Hardest.
Alright, that's for the last stream goal.
Cool Kid says.
Now we on a new stream goal. 10K.
David Hardesty says.
Let's see if we hit it. Appreciate the likes, guys. I appreciate it. Every gift adds to the goal, so do that.
Sandy G says.
Do your bang in the stream.
Says.
Alright, here we go.
Legend. Jaron Nakwin says. Said hot. Parker says. Rip it. The Penguin Squad 1984 says. Said hot. Astlin says. What up homie? No Rodriguez says. Hot. Florop 3456 says. Said hot. Damian Gonzalez says. DOM and his crew robbing the semis. No Rodriguez says. How much? Kai Paradella says. Watch it from.
Damn, that last two-step definitely ate the gas. I'm gonna need some of that. I'm gonna definitely need another Galaxy or something, because I'm eating gas right now. I'm gonna probably cruise to another location with some lights. Probably stop at a gas station. That probably makes sense. And then I'll chill.
Lives like that 224 says. The chat is blocking the damn video I'm trying to bust, bruh. Chris Davis says. Put your flashers on. Chris Davis says. Is this a video game? Illajag says. Said hot. Tolerated Storm 1 says. Said hot. Illajag says. Sup. Illajag says. Florida. Tony B Trucks says. WTF, cops around. FN nail it. Chevy 5 Speed says. Hi. Chevy 5 Speed says. How are you doing? JJ says. Tokyo Drift the Miata. Lives like that 224 says. This ain't no video game. Levi plays VR says. Said hi. Chevy 5 Speed says. What's up tonight? Not Giz says. WSP bro, that's hella nice. Tony B Trucks says. Boring. Chris Davis says. Gay. D Pablo says. Who want $100? Chevy 5 Speed says. Are you racing the cars? The Bass Duo says. Hi. Levi plays VR says. I like man. Chevy 5 Speed says. Nice car. Funny Vibes says. You're. The Bass Duo says. Said hi. Corbin Wiggins says. Let's see some backfires. Det Gunnar says. What came first, the hawk or the twa? Kendricks says. Bro. Chris Davis says. Video a milk run. Tony B Trucks says. He'll race this guy for $5,000. Levi plays VR says. Yeah. The Bass Duo says. That's a very nice car. Kendricks says. I like your car. Chevy 5 Speed says. What's your favorite food? Owen Lee says. Bor. Tony B Trucks says. You in the Northeast? Trix says. G. D Pablo says. Who want $100? Enixity says. Hi. Chevy 5 Speed says. The phones always says eh. Frisk says. Was at. Corbin Wiggins says. Nice super big dog, are you running to Jay-Z or what? Theod Feasible Braj says. Hello. Frisk says. Said hi. Chris Davis says. Let put that roll cage to use. Chevy 5 Speed says. Goes it run on 86. The Tell says. What the hell?
Yeah,
says.
trying to figure out what's going on with the chat.
To make some gas.
I might turn it off for a
Felix
sec,
says.
but bear with me while I figure something out. TikTok, are y'all actually able to see y'all chat or hear yourself? Something's crazy with that part. I can see it coming in, but I can't.
Storm 1 says. Said hi. Chevy 5 Speed says.
All right.
That's a nice car unit. The Tell says. What the hell? Siddharth Karana says. Fire. Primo 704 says. WSP bro. Det Gunnar says. I need a Torta with a jit now. Primo 704 says.
Damn, that was hot.
Said hi. Mohammed Al Naham says.
Y'all funny.
Frisk says. Asa. Chevy 5 Speed says. Is it 93 octane? Zabd Ali says. Love from Pakistan.
Yeah, we didn't set up the E85 yet.
Revit. Helix says. XD. Dresden says. Revit.
Yeah, Gabe, it's a set of
Trix
Corsa.
says. We can hear chat. Helix says.
The chat from TikTok.
I just love it.
Yeah, you can hear chat, but I'm trying to figure out why I can't
says.
see the chat relaying on
Primo 704 says. All the way from TikTok.
Right now, though.
Elective says. Go unlock getting on that 40 Monta way and send it. Helix says. Anyways bro, nice car. Chevy 5-speed says. The phones goes a.
Might drop.
Yeah. Trix says. Siddharth Khurana says. Favorite car? Helix says. The O sounds like an engine car lol. Stream Elements says. Thanks for subscribing Tolerated Storm 1. Chevy 5-speed says. Do you watch movies? Mason says.
Thanks for the subscription, thanks for subscribing, thanks for following, all that good stuff.
I'm a torta pounder, torta pounder. They got big hearts, that's all I want.
Join me there.
Chevy 5-speed says. Dark. Nice car.
Might actually about to
Mason
happen,
says,
to be honest, because I don't see nobody give me no
what kind of engine you running on? Smiclox says. Badass Supra. Says. Said hi.
Thanks.
Chris Leone says. See. That one Ferrari FXX says. Yo, I don't think you can park there. Bauer says.
You don't think I can park here? Alright,
Daddy
I'm trying not to park.
says,
I'm gonna move when y'all send a Galaxy.
Let me hear the limiter. D-Wine says. D-Wine says, how did you get AI to read chat? Chevy 5-speed says. Is it twin turbo? Chris Leone says. I'm sorry for getting mad, but I just get mad. Chrissy G says. Rev it. Chris Leone says. I'm so sorry. Brady Deeds says. Hi. Space Camel says. Chris Leone says.
Hey man.
Hey, what's up?
Nice ride, man. Can I take a picture of it?
Oh yeah, it's fine.
Says.
Yeah, thanks.
Rev or Supra. Fiat Feasible Braj says. Why my chat not coming up?
Got somebody looking at the car right now saying, want to take a picture.
What's up? Ford 7.3 Power Stroke says. I wanna see some flames. Jimmy Trudel says. When you gonna rip it? Mason says. I got a 1996 4-door Glizzy. Det Gunnar says.
Okay.
Torta pounder, torta pounder. Frisk says. To race I'll pay you $500. Mason says. I'm being serious. Mason says. I'll actually meet up with you. Mason says. Please bro.
Nah, man, use that 500 to invest in something, man. No point in giving it to me. Fucking shit. Are you fucking kidding me? Ah, love this.
Mason says. What happened? Brantley says. Car die. Soy Sharky 408 says. 2-stage or 3-stage clutch. How much HP? Dylan B says. You clean Supra. Mason says. Well, my turbo is blown, so like I have to get it fixed soon. Robert McMahon says. Said hi. Mr. Taco says. I feel bad for bro. Mason says. My Skyline is right-hand drive. Robert McMahon says. Hi. Not a person says. Is that a? Not a person says. RX7, winky face. Mason says. Your mic not working. Soy Sharky 408 says. What happened to the sound? Mason says. Dude, that's a super person. Prince Antoine says. Hi. Soy Sharky 408 says. Said hi. Quiet says. Nice Supra. Yahadok 24 says. H. Yahadok 24 says. V. Prince Antoine says. Y. Yahadok 24 says. D. Fish Eater says. Yo. AI 760 says. This fake. Dylan B says. Hit a one-time two-step. Prince Antoine says. Does it your flames? Mason says. AI 760 it's not. Yahadok 24 says. Did he? Soy Sharky 408 says. No sound. Quiet says. What year is the Supra? AI 760 says. How you know? Fish Eater says. Slide it. Fish Eater says.
Yeah, that's
Slide it.
Oh, okay. I think.
maybe.
Yeah, I can hear now. So yeah, like I said, heavy clutch and dead batteries don't play nicely. I gotta go. Things are going crazy. Discord in the link in the bio.
Rexy07 says.
Appreciate y'all watching.
Electric.
Until next time, I'm out.
Soy Sharky 408 says.
Peace.
There we go. Ryan Bernheimer says. Do a trip. Jerson says. Rev it. Haddock 24
Link in the bio for the Discord,
Sibs. Soy Sharky 408
TikTok,
says.
and Facebook have it.
3-stage.
Super simple.
Prince Antoine says.
Catch me over there.
Does your Super